All right. Got my audio?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we're good to go. Make sure I'm not on mute like 2 weeks ago. All right, we're good.
Oh yeah, make sure everything's good on the other channels.
Okay, well, welcome to Truth Hour. This is episode 15. If you've been along for the 15-week ride, or actually I guess 16-week because I got COVID and had to take a week off, but if you've been along for this ride all this time, thank you. And here's to 15 more. All right. So this week we are going to, let me get to these banners. We're going to kind of have three main topics, but there's going to be a lot within them. We're going to talk about divisions within the Democratic Party and some, what Shonda and I believe are some kind of off the mark comments from some moderate Dems, and transition into Trump's concession speech. I don't know if you heard it. You probably didn't hear it because he hasn't made it yet. And we'll finish up with some COVID-19 news, some positive news. I mean, and the case count is still rising, and unfortunately, and we know that that's a result of some lack of leadership and poor coordination, but there is some good news on the vaccine front. So you got in the comments, yeah, I missed that speech. It didn't happen. You didn't miss it. You did not miss it. But let's start off with divisions in the party.
Yes, let's start there.
All right. I'm curious how I'm sure you heard. So Senator Mark Warner of, I think Virginia, Senator Mark Warner of Virginia made the comment that defund the police is the type of rhetoric that led to Democrats losing seats in this election. I see it differently. I'm wondering how you took that comment. What was your reaction when you heard that comment?
Yeah, so I mean, he's one of many other senior members of the Democratic Party that have, that carry that sentiment. And it's unfortunate because that's not the reason why they lost. And we can talk about that in a few moments, but just in terms of the language, defund the police, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Which,
I mean, again, it almost feels as if they're saying that was an issue, then maybe they, in fact, were just they had performative actions in terms of how they responded at that moment, because it's funny that they're saying, oh, this is what cost us the election, or not cost us the election, but cost us from being able to flip Senate seats or hold on to seats in the House. And that's not true. Part of it is that they need to have a better strategy going forward. That message, it shouldn't be political, number one. It should be something that everyone cares about. And especially if you're on the Democratic side, again, this is why it's important for us to adopt a Black agenda and make sure that we're saying that, in fact, that we're all in alignment. It's like, if this isn't adopted as part of the Democratic platform, then that's why you have members that will continue to say things like this, saying that this is what cost us the election. No, it's not. I mean, in terms of, if we're going to break things down district by district, or city or states, again, you can't carry a nationalized message. So when we're talking about the Green New Deal, because of course, like Cliff, you and I, we've talked about that a little bit. The Green New Deal is not something that maybe people in Kentucky would care so much about, right? I mean, that would resonate better and more, and it's unfortunate, right? Because when we think about clean air, we think about climate change, on the West Coast, they've done so well in terms of the policies that they've adopted, but there's ways to begin to message that to where they understand that all of these things impact the economy. So when we're talking about food, when we're talking about jobs, when we're talking about your water, all of those things matter. I mean, hello, Flint, Michigan. So should that not be something that we discuss when we're talking about the Green New Deal and ways that in fact that does actually continue to harm Black and brown communities? So it does make me upset that they've now decided to divide members of the party, because again, if there weren't members like, and I'm going to use the term because that's unfortunately how they've been coined and how people know them, but if there weren't members part of the squad like Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, AOC, I'm forgetting one of them. She's from the state of Michigan, so I'm sorry. But
Rashida Tlaib.
Yes, Rashida Tlaib. If there weren't people like those women who were comfortable stepping in as freshman members and speaking out, then we wouldn't have some of the progress that we do have. And so I think that they should be given more credit. And it's time for the old guard to really step aside and learn how to bridge like meaningful conversations with them, because unless they want the party to split completely and there to be other like smaller parties that are formed, then we'll continue to have this issue. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't have a very nice response to these people. To me, it's, and I'm going to get to this person commenting on YouTube. To me, it's simple.
Oh, what is a Black agenda?
They might be a troll, but that's fine. I'll address it in a minute. I think if you can't run on a platform that establishes these basic principles, humans are responsible for global warming and bear the same responsibility to ensure that the environment is protected for generations to come. The police are accountable for upholding the law and adhering to those same laws. And if they fail to do so, which they do consistently, they should be held accountable, and there needs to be real, meaningful reforms to ensure that they do that. And our election systems should be protected from foreign threats and from domestic voter suppression. If you can't run on that agenda, you don't belong in the Democratic Party.
Right.
And so listening to moderate Democrats, which I don't even know what that means. Listening to moderate, like, are you a conservative, but you like the D next to your name because of the district you live in? What does it mean to be a moderate Democrat at this point?
And I think that's right. That's what you're saying is like in 2020, I don't necessarily feel that works in terms of, I think that's a safe way of you placing yourself not on the leftist, the liberal category, for them to call you a socialist. That's what they're afraid of. So they'd rather be referred to as a moderate Dem than all of those names that they've given.
But I think the operative word in what you just said was they're afraid of.
Afraid. Yeah.
And don't run. If you're afraid to run on an agenda that your party establishes its platform on, you're in the wrong party. So Joe Manchin of West Virginia, you must go.
Yeah.
I think his time was gone 8 years ago. I hate that he won re-election. That was the only race where I was actually supporting the Republican candidate. Because if he's only going to espouse Republican ideals, why have a capital D next to your political designation? I don't understand what he's doing. But getting back to this division in the party, if we run on a platform of defund the police, then we can't win. Then you need to do a better job of educating your constituents on what it means to defund the police. If you have ignorant people in November of 2020 who still believe the words defund the police means get rid of police, then you're doing a bad job as a public official. You need to explain to them, speak to them like they're kindergartners if you have to. Defund the police doesn't mean take all the money and get rid of police force. Explain to them that defund the police means reinvest in the community so that interactions between police and community members are dramatically reduced. If you can't have that conversation with your constituents, you ought not to be in a position to represent them.
Right.
And I don't understand how these people want to be representatives of Democrats if they're not going to uphold democratic values?
Yeah. And so that's the main part, right? Like, you're in a position of power. So you should be able to explain to your constituents what these things mean, what any policies adopted mean, or what it is that you would like to have implemented. It's your job. Like, you're there to represent and support your constituents that put you in office, right? So if in fact, like you're saying, like, if you can't explain to them what that means, okay, so let's just, because we're talking about defund the police, perhaps maybe police brutality is not an issue. Perhaps it's not an issue in the constituency, like in their actual district. I'm just saying, perhaps, right? Perhaps it isn't. But that still does not take away the responsibility that you have then to explain how it is part of a systemic issue when we're talking about police departments. And so for the person in the comments is saying, just so I'm clear, if someone doesn't agree with you, then you should leave the party. I'm not saying that you shouldn't agree, but the thing is that why is it that there can't be disagreements in the party, but we not talk about them? Because what I think is happening, what I believe is happening is that they're trying to excuse themselves from the issue without fully addressing that this is something that should be adopted to the Democratic agenda, like the Democrats' agenda. And so for me, yes, if in fact you do not believe in those in that, if the Democrats are saying that they care about racial injustice and they care about putting out these policies that will protect these communities that are at harm, then yes, you should leave the party.
And let me just,
and he'll clear, yeah.
So just so I'm clear, if someone doesn't agree with you, then they should leave the party. No, if someone doesn't agree with the views of their party, they should leave the party. Just so you're clear. I hope that clears it up for you. All right. So if you don't agree with the values of your party, you're probably in the wrong party. If that's unclear, I can't make it any more clear than that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean.
And no, it's okay. And then also, Cliff, you might want to answer this, and then go ahead. Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. And then the question about what is a Black agenda. So oftentimes, Black people, not oftentimes, they have been left out of the conversation in terms of what issues matter to them. Again, it's funny how everyone was reliant upon Philadelphia to give us the numbers so that Joe Biden could win the presidency.
Yeah.
But I guarantee that the issues that matter to the people that live in that city, a lot of people do not care about those issues. And the people that it actually impacts and that it does a disservice to are Black and brown people. So that's why I'm saying that a Black agenda is very important when we're talking about housing, we're talking about education, we're talking about criminal justice reform. Those are issues that I think that should be at the top of the list for the Democratic Party.
Yeah. And I think that failing to recognize opportunities for legitimate evolutions are going to be the party's downfall, right? This is no longer 1992 Bill Clinton Democratic Party. This is not 2016 Hillary Clinton party. This is in 2008 Barack Obama party.
Right.
And we how do we know this? The states that Barack Obama went to campaign, as much as many people who are viewing this love Barack Obama, he had zero impact on the election. He was in Florida, gave 3 speeches.
Oh, Florida.
Florida still went red. As we predicted months ago, if people go back and watch episode 2, 3, and 4 of Truth Hour, we said Democrats shouldn't spend much money in Florida. Florida's going to stay red.
Right.
Sorry, not sorry. Right. So this is now the party of Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Right. And if we don't, who did I miss in there? I don't want to.
Rashida. You're about to say her name.
If we don't acknowledge that young voters and progressive voters, i.e. the base of the party, right? 18 to 29-year-olds are the largest voting bloc in America. If the party does not start to just forget recognition, these constituents are smarter than that. It's not just about recognition. If the party doesn't start actually implementing policies that voting bloc is supportive of. There's no reason that they're not going to leave the party. And so if you want to prevent a mass exodus, right? If you want to prevent a mass exodus of young voters, of people who want environmental justice, of people who want racial justice, of people who want an end to or somewhat a reduction of the systemic racism, if you don't want these people to leave the party, you got to start implementing policies that's supportive of them. So what Joe Manchin's doing in West Virginia, right? What Mark Warner's doing in Virginia. I mean, what these people are claiming is that, so if you can't run on that agenda, then you're not the right candidate, because every single House Democrat who ran on a platform of Medicare for all, what was the result?
They won.
They won.
Yeah.
Every single House Democrat who ran on a platform of Medicare for all won. So you can't make the claim that progressive values are unsuccessful at the ballot box, because now there's proof, right? We have empirical evidence to substantiate that progressive values are successful values.
Right. I mean, it just continues to boil down to the way that you message these things, right? If you allow mainstream media to take over the messaging for what's taking, like the conversations that are happening in your own community, then that's your loss, right? But it's also harmful to your constituents that could actually benefit from from there being actual policies implemented that would help them. So, I mean, think back, I guess, what is that? More than 12 years ago, when Obama ran in 2008. Yeah. So initially, the idea of universal health care, like that being discussed, it was not it was popular among the people that were supporting him. But again, it goes back to what you were saying about that voting bloc. That's how he was able to keep young voters engaged, because a lot of them cared about that particular issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think we got to talk about also, because we touched on it last week, but there was so much to cover with the election leadership, because we heard, right, Nancy Pelosi threw her hat in the ring to serve again as Speaker of the House. And I mean, I think there's better options out there. Not just I think there's better, like I don't think that there's better options in terms of people have different policies, because again, for the most part, there's not a lot of separation, right, from House Democrats. I think that there's better options to move this country in a different direction and start to empower some of the new guard, right? Because you're using the reference of old guard, new guard.
Right.
If you want to empower the new guard, if you want to really kind of galvanize some of these young voters, I think there's a responsibility of people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, right? Tom Perez, the party leaders, to make an effort to say, you know what, we got to start pulling up some of these folks who are going to be leading us into the future, because my days in this role, my days are numbered, and it's time for somebody else to kind of fit the bill.
Right. I mean, again, it's also, if you actually care about your own party, you would do that. I mean, there's so many things I feel like I'm not a Republican, but there's so many things I feel like we should take from their playbook. And Dems fail at this every time. First off, campaign strategy. They win every time with messaging. We did well, but I mean, if you go and look at some of those ads, I can't stand her. But Kimberly Classic, who ran as the next congresswoman for the city of Baltimore, people should go and check out the ads that they ran. But the thing is like, for digital, they outspent Dems on Facebook ads and in other spaces, and they still were. I mean, it's like we really did not find rebuttals to the terms leftist, liberal, or even when they were attacking us for using the terms Black Lives Matter. What was that?
Right.
Oh, that ad was good.
Yeah,
Yes,
the ad was good, which
it
is
was so good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Scary, but good. But the thing is, I said, wow, I mean, unless you're just someone that, which many people, I mean, it's not to take anything away from the average person, but again, if you just don't really think about it, you would think, oh, this is a really good candidate if you're not reading between the lines. But to go back, I mean, so this is again, like, this is part of what we're saying in terms of like strategy, and then the old guard and new guard. Where the Republicans, they do very well is that they're unafraid of placing young people in the spotlight. So in terms of leadership, I mean, they had Paul Ryan at one of the Paul
Like
Ryan.
41, 42?
Yes.
He was young.
Yes, young. They had him there after John Boehner left.
Yep.
Unafraid. Okay. Then other thing, they have people that are running the RNC, young people. And they put also women there in leadership. Yep. Dems, they take forever to put women at the fore. I mean, in the front. And when it is a woman, it's been Nancy Pelosi. I'm not taking anything away from her. And everyone always goes back to, oh, she fundraises so well. Well, again, if you were also training up other people in the party, we wouldn't be relying on someone who's almost out the door to bring everyone together. Like, that's the unfortunate part, is that we're really just going through the list and saying, oh, well, this person, they're maybe sophomore, junior member, possibly they could step into the role. But if we've learned anything, we should not hold ourselves. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have standards, but we cannot continue to go through this by putting all these restrictions on ourselves within the party. And then, again, like you were saying, Cliff, there's conversations that they could benefit from if they actually allowed these members to have a seat at the table. So if that's putting together new coalitions within the party, allow them to do that, because I guarantee that people would rather hear from them if they let's see, if some of the squad, if they chose to go out and go into other communities and talk about these issues, there's no harm in them actually talking about climate change and maybe Pennsylvania, or going to, I keep using Kentucky for some reason. I don't know why I'm using Kentucky, but that's just on my mind. But if they just somewhere, or even somewhere else in the Midwest, there's no harm in allowing them to meet members of the Democratic, like the state party, state representatives or congressional members there, and doing, like, having meetings like that. To me, is then inviting people into the political process. And that's what I feel like Dems have failed to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this comment we got, because I think it's spot on, and we talked about this after the conventions. The diversity at the Republican National Convention the first couple of nights was so different. The Democratic National Convention was kind of sad to see. I mean, because we know which party is more diverse. We know which party puts more people of color and empowers more people of color. But it's crazy to, like, if you looked at the conventions, if your only introduction to these parties and these candidates was the conventions, you're going to walk away from that experience thinking, oh, one party is definitely on it. They understand that this is a moment that we have to provide space, right, and platforms for all people. Because the Republicans, and I said this, right, the Republicans had more Black speakers on night one than the Dems had their entire convention. And it's crazy.
That's so true.
That was the reality, because
they pulled out everyone
they could think of.
Yeah, everyone. It might even be the most popular person or people that we even know of, but I mean, they were there.
So last week we didn't get a chance to get to, we talked about the cabinet picks and who we want to see in a Biden-Harris cabinet, White House staff, because representation is important. Representation, I love the hashtag representation matters, right? It matters. It's important for a number of reasons. And we didn't get to talk about, because both of us had an idea of who we think should represent the party or the White House as press secretary. This is the face of the White House. This is the person the American public sees more than anyone else. They're addressing these journalists every day. They are the voice. Yeah. And I have an idea of who I think it should be, but we'll let you kick it off.
Okay, so in terms of White House press secretary, I am going to, so my top 3 picks for White House press secretary would be April Ryan. Then I am going to say Yamiche. I'll also, oh goodness, I said I was not going to, Alston Dorr. And the third person, this is where it gets tricky because I like Yvette Simpson, but then
we didn't.
Oh, you don't have a picture of
my
her?
top three.
Oh,
I have
okay,
pictures
okay.
for my top three, which we shared the top two. I don't have a picture for your third one.
Okay. So the third one is also a reporter. So I picked Yvette Simpson, but then it's tricky because I also feel as if the wild card would be Melissa Harris Perry for me.
I should have got her. I didn't get her picture either.
Yeah.
And I love Melissa Harris Perry. Yeah. I watched. Sorry.
No. I'm just saying. I feel like there's so much owed to definitely Melissa Harris Perry. I mean, all of the women. And the reason why, because before everyone starts chiming in, I did pick Simone Sanders. I know that Simone Sanders is being floated as a possible option for the White House press secretary, but I listed her as a possibility for the communications director because she still would be involved in strategizing one with the White House, and then also with outside bodies. So those are my picks.
You got to comment. I like the first two. Same. We shared the first two. I guess we could have done a little better. If I had known your three and four, I would have had pictures queued up. It seems like now I'm like biased towards these people.
It's okay. Oh, and then I see someone. Okay, so I know people were just coming in. Oh, yeah. Don't worry. He has that. Somebody in the comments, but someone listed Van Jones. So I just want to point out the reason why I picked all three Black women is because there's never been a Black woman. There's never been a Black woman as the press secretary. And I don't think there's actually been a Black man as press secretary. And time again, we are underrepresented, but we do so much for this country. We do so much in terms of political engagement and getting people out to vote. And one of the things I'm sure Cliff will talk about is that we have to begin to normalize us in these positions. And other than just the highest position being the president. Yes, we have Barack Obama, but at the same time, like, we are in these conversations. We're out there on the streets organizing. We help everyone. And so I think that there will be something that we add to that platform.
So I just want to remind people from something I said last week. I just want y'all to put some respect on Stacey Abrams' name. I think I'm gonna keep this is gonna be a perpetual banner.
I love that photo.
Put some respect on Stacey Abrams' name. All right, back to this. So
absolutely.
The reason we had talked earlier, and the reason my top three picks were Black women is because I think in this moment we know that there's going to be racially motivated vitriolic responses to the person occupying the second highest office being a Black woman. Now more than ever, it's vitally important that you have a Black woman in that role as press secretary so that little kids can recognize, oh, these people are capable of occupying the highest offices, being just efficient and productive and just bosses, right? I mean, I don't know a Black woman that does not take care of business and keeps everyone up floating everywhere else around them. And I think that's going to happen in this administration. I think that's going to happen when Kamala runs on her own in 4 years. And I mean, we've seen it happen time over time. So I think for those reasons, and then also for people to understand the difference, communications director is the person that actually designs the messaging and what's going to be said in terms of probably coordinating tweets and coordinating letters and drafts to the press and all of that. But the press secretary is the one at the podium speaking to the journalists. So typically that role is reserved for former journalists, White House correspondents, who to me, there's no better person than April Ryan right now. Yes. April Ryan has been doing this for years. She's been doing the tough work. She's a hard-hitting journalist who does her research, and she's responsible, and she does, I think, the best job of fairly covering the White House. She's not an ideologue, and you can't have that in that role. You have to be not neutral, obviously, because you do have political leanings, but I think that she is the best option of the three. However, if anyone from these three, obviously, I'm going to be happy because to your Abby Phillip, who'll be my number 2 choice. Brilliant, right? I feel bad for people on IG because you can't see the banners or the the people that we're putting up on Facebook and YouTube. But
y'all know these people. You know Abby.
Abby Phillip is brilliant, and she's younger. Again, all 3 of them are Black women, but Abby Phillip, brilliant. She's a younger journalist, but again, she's right in the mix. She asks all the questions that we're always thinking, and it's like, imagine her being the one responding to these other White House correspondents. Right. The last one we share, Yamiche Alcindor. I think again, she'd be great. She's that was for you, obviously.
Oh, thank you.
I think Yamiche is again another one who asks all the tough questions, and she's always there. It seems it doesn't matter if it's midnight, 1 a.m. She's just always covering this White House. And it's like, imagine if she's the one at 7 a.m. delivering the briefings.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and there's one thing I definitely want to be clear about too.
Yeah.
Part of my desire to see a Black woman there is because all the Black women that we've mentioned, they are able to hold their composure. All the things think about the past White House press secretaries we've had and how they've responded, how they've been defensive, done things that
Huckabee's daughter's name.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Yes. Yeah. Those are things that we have never seen before.
The dude who lied about the president's, the size of his audience, what was his name?
Scaramucci.
No, he wasn't he was the comms director, but the blonde dude. Sean Spicer. That dude was a whole clown. He was a whole clown.
But I just want to mention is that I think that we need to see Black women in these roles because we have this stereotype of that we'll just go off and that you can't come to us, that we're unapproachable, and to be able to see these women handle themselves every day at the podium. This is also among their colleagues, people they're part of the press corps, and that have respect for them. I think it would say a whole lot. And so I'm with you, Cliff. Even if it was Abby Phillips, I didn't put her in my top 3, but I would be excited for her as well.
I would. It would be. I think this would transform. But then also you got to think about messaging. And you mentioned. I already forget her name.
Simone
Sanders as the potential, as the potential communications director. Now I'm going to share my screen really quick. Again, this is for folks, unfortunately, on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to share my screen because this is Joe Biden has announced a few more. He's announced a few more staff members to join. And it's actually the tweet that you sent me earlier. So what we're looking at, these are the members. I'm happy that Dr. Jill Biden's chief of staff is going to be a woman of color, but this is disappointing. Can you see the screen, by the way? I should have asked you. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
So I understand Joe Biden having Jen O'Malley, right, who was his, Jen Dillon, who was his campaign manager, because you always reward your campaign manager and the highest staffers, right, on your in your campaign. But some of these other like random old white people, I'm sorry, it's like, are you missing this moment this badly? Who are these people?
You're not sorry. That's why I'm laughing. Okay,
who are these people? Cliff, and why are they going to be in the White House?
Cliff, they can't see that on Instagram. So can we name?
Okay. Name. I'm sorry. You can name them.
Okay, so we have Anthony Bernal. This is kind of small for me. Anthony Bernal. Cliff, you have to read it because I can't see the names. It's so tiny on my screen.
Anthony Bernal is going to be the senior advisor to Dr. Jill Biden. Mike Donilon is the senior advisor to the president. Jen O'Malley Dillon, who we talked about, will be deputy chief of staff. Dana Remus will be the counsel to the president. Jaleesa Reynoso Pantaleon will be the chief of staff to Dr. Jill Biden. Steve Richetti, counselor to the president. Cedric Richmond, who's a return from previous administration, senior advisor to the president and director of the White House Office of Public Engagement. Julie Rodriguez, director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. And Annie Tomasini, director of Oval Office Operations. I'm good with 4 of these picks. And I'm good with 5 of them because, again, Jen Dillon, you always reward your campaign manager. rest of them, White
yeah,
House?
but I mean, and these are okay. So just wanted to point something out again. I get it in terms of these are people that have been doing the work. They were part of the previous 3 administrations or 2 administrations. I just want to point that out because there were some that were part of the Clinton administration, and then they were also served in positions in the Obama administration. Why are we doing that? Again, old guard, new guard. Just stop.
Yeah, this is
Just
not
stop.
Obama's party. This is the
Right.
squad's party.
Yes. So
Sorry, it's the squad's party.
Yeah. So we have to stop doing that. And I mean, like you said, Jen O'Malley Dillon, she did look. The woman got us here. So I'm not taking anything away from her. I definitely think that she should have a leadership role. But like you pointed out, the first lady, Jill Biden, she will have a female, she will have a woman, and it's a woman of color as her chief of staff. That says something. But it feel, and then Cedric Richmond. Okay, so his role, I forgot the title. Amazing. He was a former Congressional Black Caucus chairman. He's a representative for, I guess now, former or soon to be former representative in Louisiana. He's younger. He has a great rapport with people, great relationships with other members in the House. These are positive things, and that's what you would want to see. And he's also, his role is with engagement. So that's a positive. But again, like when we start seeing, go ahead, Cliff.
I was gonna say I was going to read you the title.
Okay.
He'll be the senior advisor to the president and director of the White House Office of Public Engagement.
Right. So I mean, so those are good things, but I'll let Cliff. You could talk about some of your comments about the council.
Yeah, I think this is a good comment we got on IG. It said you need a balance of both, and I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair assessment. I think you do need a balance of both.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
good, you covered.
I don't know. I'm just not sure if this. I mean, I guess you can't have everything, right? This isn't the worst, and also, the reason that I was so kind of when I saw this when you sent it to me earlier, and I was like, ooh, I was so jarred by it, is because now I'm starting to worry. What if they just start putting some old white men in the cabinet? Then I'm going to have a problem.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you too, Alicia. I was going to type that, but Cliff said, yeah, exactly my point. That if we fall into appointing old, like,
because you can't just like Trump made that mistake, right? Well, not mistake for him. It's kind of how it's his mode of operation, right? It's his modus operandi. You can't just appoint people that you know are loyalists. You can't just appoint, well, I worked with them before with Obama, so they must still be good, right? No, right? I think there should be an interview process. I think that there should be some legitimate deliberation with your new vice president-elect. I think she should have some input on who should these people be. And the cabinet better not look like what it did the last 2 times. Because even with Obama, I wasn't the happiest personally with the cabinet. I loved Eric Holder. I liked Castro, right? I think there was Anthony Fox. I think he did a good job. I think there was some, but there was some questionable. There was some questionable. So I think Biden has some work to do.
Yes, but this is my thing. Biden is able to do it because he's a white man. President Obama could not do that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, at this moment in time, he had, like, you can do that and people will be okay with it. But when it was Barack Obama, the first Black president, he couldn't do that. So I do think that the latitude is a bit different. And so I'm not sorry to say this, but I'm expecting you to show up for everyone, because again, do not use us as a means to win, but then you refuse to put people that look like myself and look like you and people that are here in the chat. Don't use us for your own political gain and then just say, okay, we need you to show up to the polls, but then we don't want to put you in positions of leadership and to help, speak to voters that we ourselves can't reach. So no, that's not cool. Go ahead.
I was re-looking at the list. There's not a single Asian American in this White House staff, senior staff.
Let's just say yet.
Okay.
But
you're right. Every day they're releasing more and more people.
Yeah, more and more people. But maybe there will be someone. Maybe there will be someone in the cabinet. I'm not sure. But again, it's like, and it also shouldn't be us Black people only raising this concern. Just saying.
Yeah, we need some solidarity. Yeah, it's got to come from a bunch of sources. And I just read your. Oh, but that was before we got to.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So besides Simone Sanders, who I would think would be best to fill the communications director role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've not really actually considered that.
But that's the thing. I think even the number of women we mentioned, even someone said in the comments like Van Jones. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, but I think that any number of those women could very well, do a great job as communications director. Or it's even, I would even say, what if they reached out to someone that's ran comms, like for some of these, like doing organizing?
Yeah.
Because that's, again, we were talking about it earlier. This is where we're missing out in terms of having political engagement, like increasing political engagement in midterm elections.
You know who I want in the comms office? Whoever was running Joe Biden's Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I could give you a few names. I know some of them.
I know some of them. Joe Biden's Twitter, they need a job in the White House.
Yeah.
Hashtag, I'm just saying, because they were feeling it this election cycle. And
I would also say too, you guys need to put somebody, again, I'm not sorry about this. You need to put a Latinx person, you need to put an Asian person, you need to make sure that you have us in the communication shop.
Yeah.
Period. That's
not just for diversity's sake, but also like just so we can we've got a smattering of people. But no, like to the original point, like representation matters. You can avoid making like incendiary comments or things that would be insensitive to folks. Yeah, we don't win Arizona if not for Native Americans coming out in droves and supporting the Democratic Party. So
that too.
You got to put some respect on their name too, right?
Right.
Like this was a large coalition building exercise that led to this 5.5 million vote lead. I stopped counting. He got demolished.
Yeah.
What's the popular vote advantage for Biden at this point?
They said that it was over 5 million.
Golly, that's more than
over 5 million.
Obama won by like 9 million the first time or something crazy.
From his lead with John McCain?
08 was like 9, but the second one, Romney, was closer. It was 5.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It was closer. Yeah. But the first one, oh my God, it was insane. Yeah.
But it's just, So to wrap that up, in terms of messaging, you need to have, everyone needs to be involved, because there's things like where my lens will be different than someone's lens that's in, like someone that's Native versus someone that's Asian. So we need to make sure that everyone's there, because again, the conversation about climate change, we have not been able to get through to some people in these communities because you only talk about global warming.
Fracking.
But a lot of people don't care about fracking because it doesn't impact them. That's just who we are as the people. We'll move on.
All right. So last but not least, because this is impacting there is not a single human alive. And this is not a single United States citizen. I said human. That was not a misstatement. There is not a single human alive whose life has not been adversely impacted by COVID-19. And we just got some news.
Are you trying to put something on the screen?
No, I read that comment, and it's
okay.
People can hide behind kind of anonymous nonsense and write stuff like that. I'm not putting it on the screen.
Okay.
We just got news that both Pfizer and Moderna, like pharmaceutical companies, in phase 3 of their trials have a 90+% success rate. I think that's positive, but it's interesting. It's different. See, I'm still skeptical, and people can come after me in the comments. It's fine. I'm still skeptical because this vaccine, right, or these vaccines, plural, are not going to function like other ones where they're actually kind of injecting a version or a version of the virus. It's like, wait a minute, my question is, how are they gauging effectiveness if they're
Right.
if they're not going about developing a vaccine in the same process as other vaccinations.
Right. Like, for instance, the flu shot, like flu vaccine, or,
Like the influenza shot, you're getting like a live, like, so your body can develop like antibodies around, like that's how we fight it. So I don't understand.
Right.
What is this? What do you mean 90% success of what? How are you judging that?
Mm-hmm. And who did you test this on?
Well,
Who or what? Who are, I mean, yeah, but yeah, exactly. I'm like you. They won't be yeah,
No.
nope. She said, I'm gonna let y'all try it first. Yeah, and it won't be on me.
Yeah,
because like I said, yes,
Yeah,
I don't.
I won't be taking any vaccines anytime. I'll wait a couple years when they say it's safe, and I see a bunch of people taking it. It's like, okay, I might feel a little better, but maybe. I mean, heck, I've had it twice, so I don't know if I'm ready to just get stuck in the arm to allegedly with a I don't know, young healthy people in trials. Yeah, exactly. How about somebody like me, mid-30s, who had some pretty severe symptoms? I want to know.
You don't consider yourself pretty healthy?
Me?
I mean, yeah, you don't consider yourself healthy?
Young. I think what they're saying is like young is like college or teenage. Like,
I was getting ready to say
I'm middle-aged.
Oh, y'all, I'm young. I don't know about Cliff, but
I mean, as a statement of fact, I'm middle-aged.
I don't think that you would be considered middle-aged.
Of course I am. What's the average life expectancy in this country?
But you know what? For research purposes, I wonder what young is considered. Let's just leave it there.
Sure.
I'm like, middle-aged. Thank you. They're all saying stop. You need to stop, Cliff.
Okay, I mean, I don't.
Middle-aged. I think
middle-aged. I just think it's a fact. This isn't like my opinion. I've lived half of my life, so I'm middle-aged, like in like the explicit sense of the term.
Oh, dude. Well, I mean, what do you think your life expectancy is? Maybe
maybe if I'm lucky, up to 75. Maybe.
Oh no, Lord. We'll just rebuke that, and we'll just claim that you'll live longer than that. I mean, I think there's much. Yeah. All right. Well, we're just gonna. You had the middle age.
Well, anyhow, I think I'm going to. You okay, Cliff? I'm good. Something's wrong with y'all. Let me put the banner back up. So, my reaction is, if successful, I think this can go a long way towards rebuilding relationships abroad. Because we got to remember this, because of the failure of leadership in this country, we've also had kind of a removal of some of our relationships. That's funny. With some of our relationships abroad, right? Like Germany, England, France, like all these countries have pretty much put restrictions on access to U.S. citizens traveling there. Within the Eurozone, they've opened, well, now they've imposed more restrictions as they've started to have more spikes, but it's like, I wish we could be in that position. People got to realize most countries in the Eurozone are now on their second and kind of third generations of this thing. We're still fighting our first wave because we never got our case count down to a point where we could transition to a second wave. It's like, that's like people like sometimes propaganda is like, it just completely, I think, diminishes and bastardizes like context. And if folks are talking in this country like we're in our second or third wave, it's like, no, that's not how math works. We can't have been transitioned to a second or third wave if we never brought the case counts down to a manageable number. We're still in our first wave and the numbers are exploding.
But do you not feel like this? I mean, do you not think that this is the second wave? If in fact, I mean,
it's a continuation of the first wave, but you had irresponsible elected officials who made politically motivated decisions to open up irresponsibly, which led to these explosions. You had these super spreader events in South Dakota. Now you've got hundreds of people dying in South Dakota. You had super spreader events in Wisconsin. Now you got thousands of people dying in Wisconsin. You got thousands of people dying in Florida. So there's no way we transition to a second wave, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, because I know before they were doing what was it? They had, like, you had to have your numbers down for, was it 14 or 7 days? Like, they were tracking the period before I honestly, I don't know.
Mhm.
I just know that I'm trying to make sure I take care of myself, and I do not do anything to put anyone else at potential risk that I'm around. I guess that's I mean, again, you're talking about the propaganda. It's those that refuse to wear their mask, the ones that get upset. They, yeah, that's part of the problem. And if in fact you're requesting that everything remain open, I mean, and fully open, because there are some states that went to 100% capacity.
Yeah.
But if you are in fact exploring those options, then you have the I mean, it's your responsibility then to make sure that you enforce certain measures. Make sure people are wearing a mask. I mean, that's just the base. I mean, that's the most basic thing that you can do at this point. And not even that is supposed, I mean, that's not a full protection, because people are not quarantining how they should when they come back from travel. So there's a lot of factors that weigh into this, but I think that we should brace ourselves for potential lockdown after January 20th, 2021. And for all those people that refuse to wear a mask, I hope that it's cold outside. I mean, like blizzard, because I don't know where you're going. Honestly, I don't.
I often say this sarcastically in class, because when the kids are aspirational, right, and they share certain ambitions, and it's like in terms of policy, talking about my gov students, and they're like, oh, well, we could probably try to do this, we could implement this, and it's like, really, in a country where we can't convince people to wear masks because they say it's an infringement of their liberty. So it's like, it's sad that
I lost
we live in a country where that's the reality, where the wearing of a mask is viewed as somehow interfering with liberty. And it's become partisan. This is the only country on planet Earth where wearing a mask is partisan. And I don't know the reason for that. And I think we lost you on IG.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm still showing up on IG.
No volume,
but
I can't hear you on IG. But you know what? That's a good place. That's a good place to stop, actually, because that was our third one. So we'll finish a little bit early. But as always, thank you all for joining us on IG Live. Thank you for joining on Facebook and YouTube. Shonda and I are actually going to enjoy the holiday a little bit as we can. We're going to Trump concession speech. We didn't talk about that. We still got to talk Trump. Well,
we kind of like you kind of like threw a bone to that, but
to give one, it's dangerous for the country. Well, we're not going to see you next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.